Hello and welcome to CIS 4510. To manage a project, a group of processes or a process group has to be identified. We need to understand how these process groups relate to the project management knowledge areas. We either can use these processes to manage an IT project or utilize information technology as a method to meet the required needs. A process is a series of activities, tasks, or actions that will be directed to produce a particular result. Project management can be viewed as a number of interlinked or connected processes. As we stated in the previous lecture, we started talking about the different process groups or phases, which included the initiation, the planning, execution, monitoring and control, which is one phase, and closing as the last phase. So we have those 5 main phases in project management. This is another graph different than the one that we explained in previous lecture, and you can see the different process groups or phases and they overlap with each other, where some of them will be or will start at the beginning and will assist in the project execution. For example, the execution of the project will start from the initiation. Monitoring and control, we need to start monitoring the project, making sure that it is within schedule from the beginning of the project. So that's why we have an overlap with those process group activities and the between each other. In 2006, the IRS lost over $320 million due to the failed fraud detection system project. So this is an example that will show me how project management is very important. A company called Computer Science Corp was supposed to deliver the electronic fraud detection system in January of 2005. However, in October of 2004, the IRS expressed concern that the $21 million system would not be ready on time and decided to use the existing system for 2005 filing season. According to the background information supplied to the book from Computer World by the IRS. The IRS said that the company promised that a new system would be in place by January of 2006. So in October 2005, the IRS decided that it would use the new system for the 2006 filing season. But the company did not deliver a functional system, and the company was unable to put the old system back as a contingency plan in place so they can use it for 2006 instead of the new system. As a result, neither system was used during the 2006. The old system already was offline, the new system was not ready, so they did not use any system for the 2006 filing. And that's where the IRS lost $320 million. So you can see that project management is important, executing the project successfully is important, and making sure that the activities being done within time, within budget is very important. You can read more about this case study online. The project management process groups can be implemented in any field and to any project. For example, in movies, screenwriting will be initiation, producing will be planning, acting and directing will be the execution, editing will be monitoring and controlling, and releasing the movie to theaters will be closing. Project managers in any field know how important it's to follow a good process. The main activities can be mapped to different knowledge areas as being referenced in the Project Management Book of Knowledge 2017, the 6th edition. There are activities from each knowledge area under the planning and monitoring and controlling process groups. The table on this slide and the next slide shows the activities mapping from the different phases to the different project management knowledge areas. And as you can see in the table, on the left side we have the different knowledge area: integration management, scope management, time management, cost management, and so on in the next slide, and how are they mapped to the different phases. And you can see the different processes that can be identified related to each group. With different and unique projects, there are unique approaches to project management. Many organizations develop their own project management methodologies, especially for IT projects. A methodology describes how things should be done. The methodology used will be based on the organization culture, the organization resources, and the type of the project. Some organizations might use the methods recommended by project management institution through their book of knowledge. Other organizations use quality management and Six Sigma as guidelines for their methodologies. This is an example of a company that used customized project management processes to improve efficiency and reduce cost of information technology department. Those processes were based on the size of the project that was executed, from high, medium to low projects. This case study provides an example of what's involved in the initiation, planning, execution, controlling, and closing an IT project. You can download templates for creating your own project management documents from the publisher website. But again, every company have their own way of creating their documents or selecting the proper templates for their project. Although we addressed that briefly before in previous session, we will go over some of these process groups again in this session. So from what we said before, that initiation a project includes recognizing and starting a new project or project phase. Some organizations use a pre-initiation phase, while others include items like developing a business case as part of initiation. The main goal is to formally select and start off projects. We expect from the initiation to get signing signature from the client of approval on the business plan or on the scope of the project. We can identify the stakeholders. We will know who will be the project manager, and we can complete like a business case or a business plan that will be associated with this project. Every organization has its own version of the document required for project initiation. Some organization uses the charter document, other uses statement of work or project summary or project scope document. The project planning will lay out the activities required to execute the project. Every knowledge area will be planned for and include certain type of activities for that area. The key outputs for the planning process group will include the team contract. We will select the proper team with the proper skills, with the resources needed to accomplish each activity. The project scope statement, that will be an output, so we will know exactly what will be delivered by the end, what to expect by the end of the project. Knowing the goal and the purpose of the project, will let us decide or identify the different activities that will be required for each phase or for each step. And that's what we call the work breakdown structure. That will assist us also in creating a schedule for the project. And that will be in a form of a Gantt chart. It's a chart that has all dependencies and resources that will be needed for each activity. We can also include a list of the prioritized risks as part of the planning for the project. This is just an example of a Gantt chart which will be explained in details in the next lecture. The chart includes the outline of the work breakdown structure. As you can see on the left side, we have an outline, and this is the chart. And you can see also the different process groups being listed with different activities under each one of them. Initial risk can be identified and prioritized as shown in this slide. Additional discussion about risk management will be introduced in another lecture or another chapter. It has its own separate chapter. Once we have the plan and know what needs to be done, we can start the execution process. The execution process group will consume most of the resources. In this phase, project managers must use their leadership skills to handle the many challenges that occur during the execution. The execution differs from one project to another, especially when we are dealing with IT projects. From software development to hardware configuration and installation, to network configuration, to database management, to information security, and each has their own milestones and each has their own uncertainties and challenges and risks that will be associated with it. One way to learn about best practices in project management is to look at some of the case studies for companies or from companies who received awards of implementing project management tools and techniques the right way, or maybe through conferences or through white paper published by these companies online. An example of best practices in project management is the Montreal International District, where they utilized a 66 urban area that was in the heart of downtown Montreal. They spent about $90 million on this project. For 5 years, they turned the unpopular area into a thriving section of the city with a booming real estate market and generated around $770 million in related construction. Project monitoring and controlling process groups or group involves measuring progress towards project objectives. The tools and techniques used in this phase will be monitoring deviation from the plan and taking the action to correct that deviation. This group of processes will overlap and affect all other process groups, including the initiation phase. The output of this phase, what we expect to get from this phase, is performance reports, requested changes if we need to change anything, and updated versions of the plan for each knowledge area. Once the project execution is done, we move to the last stage, which is the closing process group. This stage involves gaining stakeholders and customer acceptance of the final product and service, or products and services that will be delivered by the end. Even if projects are not completed, they should be closed out to learn from the past. In addition to the required deliverables, lessons learned will be documented as an output of this phase, as a learning experience for other projects. This is very important to document. Even if you had a successful project or you had some glitches, it has to be documented so you can learn for future projects. The deliverable might include a final report and presentation to the sponsor or senior management or the client or the customer, whoever your client or whoever you are delivering those for. In general, we know that we have 5 project management process groups: the initiation, the planning, the execution, the monitoring and controlling, and closing. We can map the activities to the different knowledge areas, and we will manage each area, or we'll talk about each area separately. Some organizations will develop their own information technology project management methodologies. They can customize it the way that they want, and you can look at some of the case studies for successful best practices in those areas. That will be all for this session. If you have any questions, you can email me, you can Skype, you can call, or you can come in person to my office. Thank you and have a great day.